Good afternoon, everybody. How are you? Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, Paul. The webinar is about to begin. Please stand by. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the almost end of a great week. I'm okay. I'm doing all right. Was working on a project earlier today. I find working with my hands, trading is so, it's all numbers up in your head, right? And so if I get an opportunity to work with my hands, I feel better. And there's a place that my family stays at every summer, and it has horrible internet. It's slower than DSL, but the house has a pitched roof. And so the last time we went there, I brought my Starlink. There's stairs that kind of come up to a landing, and I set up a ladder. And Earl, I stand here, and I just kind of put the Starlink satellite dish right here. And this year, I made something that my engineering brain said, hey, let's try it. And I took a piece of 4x8 sheet, and I hinged it right here. And my Starlink has magnetic mounts because I keep it on the roof of my truck sometimes. And so what I did was I took a piece of wood and put 4 giant washers on it. And then I printed out rollers on the 3D printer on either side of the board. And there's an eye hook for a piece of paracord to be pulled down this way, and an eye hook for the paracord to come and get tied off here. And this way, the satellite is actually in the perfect position, free, open sky. And today I had a chance to, you can see here, there's the magnetic pad, there's the sheet. I spray painted it a little bit. So you put the dish there, you throw the rope over the roof, you pull it up, and then Earl, it's supposed to sit like that on the other side. So that's kind of why I'm in a good mood today, I suppose. How are you? How is everybody today? I see a lot of names that I recognize. Stanley, what's up? Tim? Oh, so many people. Barry, Chris, Leroy. Hey, Anna, Sean, George. Too many people to say hello to. So here's a blanket hello. And I'm so happy that you're here today. We're going to spend some time today looking over charts. I'll answer any questions that you have. We'll look at any markets that you want to watch. Let's turn the air conditioner that's up here, keeping me from burning to death, in the 3rd story attic office of my house, and get into it, shall we? If you're just joining us, you're watching us on YouTube, this is an interesting tool that we've developed that's in use by customers all over the world in futures, forex, equities, and cryptocurrencies. We're being used also extensively now by people trading in prop firms like Apex, Top Step Trader, Earn to Trade, Bolinox, and people have found tremendous value using this tool that I'm about to show you in determining their market entries. And we'll talk about some strategies you can deploy using tools like this. In a nutshell, we believe markets are not random, that while your chart has a time axis and a price axis, a time and a price axis, most people are favoring the price axis and price action and neglecting the time axis completely. And so historically, anecdotally, institutions are repeatedly rigging markets, manipulating markets like gold futures and similar futures instruments at certain times, I believe. And so to prove that, we work with people who take our trial on the website and actually give out the market movement times in advance to sort of come back and say, hey, what happened at those times when we got there? And we're going to take a look at those here in a moment. People don't see this because it's hard. It's kind of unbelievable. But when you ask similar questions like, hey, do you think that the casinos have an edge in Las Vegas? People will say yes. When you ask people, hey, do you think the government is spying on you, or the NSA or the FBI or CIA has the ability to listen to you through your phone? Most of you will say yes. But when I suggest that institutions are rigging markets and following a code based on time, most people freak out. They're like, that's impossible. It could never happen. Markets are different than all of the other things I believe are rigged and manipulated. And that kind of makes me sad. But there's so many distractions, there's so much chaos that it's hard to break through the noise. Every day it's a new cycle now. Every day there's new craziness. Elon Musk got $60 billion. He lost $60 billion. And then he made $60 billion in an industry that's literally, if you've ever seen the movie World War Z, if you've ever seen this scene, remember that scene in the Brad Pitt movie where the zombies are coming over the wall in Israel? There are hundreds of thousands of acres of well-built, high-quality Chinese electric cars. They're on their way. They're in Europe, they're coming to Mexico, and they're coming here. And the man in charge of the electric car company, who said, it's not a car company, it's a data company, got $60 billion. That's just today. And so there's so much data that you need a program like ours to sort of sift through the information and help us find these patterns in advance. So again, we believe markets follow times. We know those times in advance, and we sort of wait and see if those times align with conditions that are favorable for a trade. So when we're looking at these times, we're sort of following along to see if there's anything of value there. Now, on this chart, the program is warning us since Tuesday. The program is warning us since Tuesday. Again, let me just reiterate that. This chart was uploaded 3 days ago. Okay, so what is today's date? Today is Thursday, June 13th, 2024. This was loaded 3 days ago, which was Tuesday. Now that's important because people say things to me, crazy things like, hi, can I have a free trial for 6 years to validate whether or not this works? People have had this chart since Tuesday. All right, now that's important because there's a high burden of proof here for us. The things we're saying that we believe, are they true or not? So all of these signals since Tuesday are times that the program was warning us had the potential to go down. Primarily, they had the potential to push down. And then vice versa. All of the times on the bottom of this panel were times the program was warning us, hey, there's a good chance that institutions will push prices higher at these times. Does everyone understand that? Or does anyone have a question about what the histogram initially, at a basic level of interpretation, is warning us about? What is the setup? And why the 3-minute for the ES? Well, we'll look at the setup in a moment, Junior. But the 3-minute and the 5-minute are the most popularly requested markets and timeframes amongst futures traders that we receive. And so if you survey most of the customers and prospects who are looking at our program, overwhelming majorities of them are trying to trade the E-mini S&P, and the overwhelming majority of those people are looking at a 3 or a 5-minute chart. Now, in addition to that answer, in time theory, the number 3 is very important. How many of you are familiar with Fibonacci number? Anybody here familiar with the golden ratio? Right, you were sort of taught this. You were sort of taught this when you started trading. Look for the 50%. Look for the 162 extension, the 62% retracement. Junior, were you ever exposed to Fibonacci levels when you were trading? Anybody? Yeah. So time has a similar numerology, and time is based on vibrational law and has been sort of parsed out by great men in the trading world, William Delbert Gann being one, a student of science, but also Nikola Tesla, Albert Einstein. We see the number 3 appearing over and over and over again in time. And so one of the things that we've sort of fleshed out over the last 15 years is that the number 3, whenever possible, needs to be used. And then in addition to that, the inverse of it, 1/3. These are sort of the building blocks or the quantum components of time. And we're going to see them repeat over and over again in very useful ways. Okay, so let's take a look at that in a minute. But Darian had a quick question. He said, hey, how do we interpret when the signals are close together? How do we interpret when the signals are close together? Let me see if I can get back to our histogram. Yeah. And so what do we do, Michael, when we come up against this, right? Dum, dum, da, dum. That's a great question. And when we first started the company, one of our very first customers was a lady named Dawn. And Dawn lived on the West Coast. She was a widow, and her husband had left her a fairly large estate, insurance money, and a horse farm. She loved horses. Think about the thing that you love most in life and take that feeling and triple it. And that's how Dawn felt about horses. And she traded the E-mini S&P. And she would look for signals with trend with a 2-point stop and a 2-point target. Volatility was much lower, 15 years ago, right? Now you have to use at least a 3 or a 4 or even a 5-point stop with a full-size contract most of the days. And so Darian, she would look at the histograms for the entire week, which you can do with the software. We can see the times right now for tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. We can see the next 5 trading days. And what Dawn would do is look at those clusters, and Darian, she would block them out. They represent indecision across the days that we're scanning back through to find historical patterns. There's conflicting information. And so in her mind, she said, this is canceling it out. She would refer to this as chop. And Darian, what she would do is say, I'm going to measure where price was from here to here. And she would draw that as a consolidation zone and then watch to see which direction it emerged from and trade that way out of the zone. So she saw lines close together as chop. And there's actually a function in the indicator that helps us if we want to illuminate that further. Does that make sense? Let's go take a look. So this was what was forecast. So now, if we're Dawn 15 years ago, here's what she would have done. From 9:36 until 10:27, right? Darian, she's not trading that time zone. She's out of this and not participating. On her chart, if I remember correctly, she would actually find the color of the background and she would black out that part of her screen. So Darian, what I did was drew a rectangle, and then when it came to the color or the area, she would choose active background and then make the opacity really high. Okay? There's a feature in the indicator, we won't have time to go too deep into it, called the chop zone feature. And here we tell the computer, if there's any bar that's within 5 bars of another bar, we want to gray it out. And do you see how the software did that? If you move what Dawn used to draw by hand, Darian, the program now lets us know, yeah, and says, hey, just chop. And we can even see in the future, when we have that happening, it'll illuminate that for us. And in this instance, Darian, when it drops out of this zone, you can short into here until the end of that zone, if that makes sense. So when lines are close together on a forecast, it's generally understood to be a potential chop zone. Okay? So the other simple thing to do is just to say, hey, I'm going to block out the signals from the beginning of the zone to the end of the zone. And you can do that too. That was a great question. A lot of people don't ask that question. Let's keep this grayed out and we'll come back to it because I think there's some interesting information here now to be looked at. If we do look at that zone for today, and we said, hey, this is generally where chop is going to occur. It starts at the 9:36 candle, which is down, right? So we'll draw a thing here. And it ends at the 10:27 signal, which is down. Jim wants to know, am I the only one losing audio every now and then? Quick audio check. Am I coming through okay, smoothly, or is it coming through choppy? I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Jim, it's you, which is the worst thing someone can tell you with a tech issue. I'm sorry. Okay. So remember the theory, right? The theory is we're going to give you the times in advance. And this is why I get a little nutty when someone comes to the webinar 1, 2, 3 weeks in a row and sees this and still says, well, I want to see it on my charts. I want to see it in real time. We're watching it in real time. On Tuesday, the program says, hey, when you get to Thursday, there's some shenanigans going on that I've detected. And here are those blue lines and white lines. The only reason those blue lines and white lines are there is because these moves are recurring with enough frequency that they're leaving an electronic trail. If you've ever gone hiking or you've ever had to park a vehicle in the grass, the more you roll over, walk over that grass, it leaves a trail behind. It erodes away the green grass and leaves a hard-packed, dirt-colored line. When the program populates these histograms, white lines and blue lines, the only reason they're there is because somebody, I presume the institutions, not only because they can, but because they get caught and pay fines for manipulating markets, right? The only reason these times exist, they're not black box, they're not guru generated. The only reason they exist is because over and over and over again lately, that's when and the direction of those moves occur. That's it. We're taking a flashlight and shining it on the market and saying, any times here where the stuff is happening over and over again? And the computer says, yeah. So now, when we look at what was expected for today, pretty big day, right? Unemployment, PPI, FOMC yesterday. This is what we were told to watch for. Now, what happened at the times? Let's just take a quick survey of the times where the thing we were expecting to see actually took place. Now remember, most people get in the wrong direction right away every time. Most people get in the wrong direction every day right away. And so I'm going to just quick hit 748. Here we finish a little higher than we started. We could say it went up at 842, right? And tell me if there's one you don't agree with. 1224 is supposed to go up until 133. 215 is supposed to go up until 306. And then 336 is supposed to go up until 630. Okay? I'm going to come here and I'll even make this one a little lighter, just to say, hey, it went down a little bit before it went up before the open. Now, let's look at the opposite side. Which times were we expecting since Tuesday for the market to fall? We had an active alert, a warning signal. The program was saying, hey, 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 Watch out, because at 11:36 it might go down. Watch out, because at 1:33 it might get pushed down. Watch out, because at 3:06 and 9:36 it might get pushed down. 7:39 as well. These are all Eastern pre-market times. It did not go down at 8:24. Question. How is this possible? How is this possible unless what we believe, have publicly stated we believe for 15 years, is true? People who have the power to push markets in certain directions at certain times are following a time-based code. Think of this like that movie, The Imitation Game, with Benedict Cumberbatch, who played Alan Turing in the movie, the man responsible for modern day computer science and cracking the German code, the Enigma machine. If you've seen that movie, it's a wonderful watch. I highly recommend it. But in that movie, they're trying to reverse engineer the codes that the enemy, right, the British and the Germans, they're trying to reverse engineer the codes that the enemy is using to communicate when they're going to attack, where they're going to attack. And one of the ways that the Allied forces used to confirm that Turing had cracked the code was to intercept a German transmission saying, hey, we're going to attack these coordinates in 3 days at this time. And then they would look and see, are they attacking those coordinates at that time? And when they had seen this over and over again, they knew that they had the keys to intercept and decode the transmission. And so the way that we attempt to show people that this is happening is by telling them where the enemy is trying to attack, where to put your focus. Follow along and see for yourself if these moves don't produce what we're expecting. Okay, so now, any questions about that so far? You've seen enough of my big bald Mr. Potato Head for a moment. Okay, so we talked about the chop, and then we've looked at what happened at the signals, right? And whether or not we caught these guys pushing prices higher and pushing prices lower at those times. Any questions about this? Okay, I want to keep this on our workspace, but I want to direct your attention to higher time frames. Many of you are options traders and or swing traders looking at larger moves. And last week in my webinar, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I had shown in my video all of the times coming up on the right-hand side of the chart. So Junior, Dorian, if we had followed that same procedure that we followed on the 5-minute chart, Darian, can you see this congestion zone right here? Yeah. And then you sort of see what's happening in that zone of time, right? The signal at the edge of that zone was on June 5th. And on June 5th, the software warned us about a move in what direction? It says, hey, I want you to be aware of this time the same way you were aware of the 24th, of the 17th, of the 3rd, the 22nd, the 19th, and the 29th of January. Be aware of the potential for bullish behavior, right? And so in my webinar, you knew that was coming. You had seen that in your recordings and in my class. And so from the open of the 5th until the close of today, the market moved $125 plus. Exactly, Earl. That was a pattern 3. You're correct. So we can use these instruments on higher time frames to look at other markets and identify those windows, those opportunities when we're expecting things to happen. We can look at Microsoft on a daily time frame. We can look at Apple on a daily time frame. And when someone says to you, there's no way we could have known, yes, Ian, that's the same setting I use for that 1230 trading days swing strength 5 on the ES daily, correct. So it's not a surprise to me when we get to the 3rd of June and Apple rises $27, a near 10% move on the 3rd. I'm kind of surprised people were surprised. I'm kind of surprised people were surprised. Let me pull, oh, let me do this. I know the font size is a little small. I apologize because it's way, yeah, it's way bigger to me. So Darian asked a good question. He said, is there any way to understand the exertion of the potential move? And there actually is. So one of the ways that you can do that, especially on a stock chart, Darian, is we can look and see how big were the moves historically, right? I can look at the last moves and measure how far did the market go when it went. And then on the open of those signals, I can have an approximation of how far that move is likely to go. You see what I did there? And so generally the moves in the direction of the trend are the largest moves. So on the 3rd, when that candle opened, there was a high likelihood that we were going to go from 192 to 196. And Darian, there was an outside chance that we were going to get to 215 by the 12th. Do you understand what I just did there? We can measure the capacity of the move. No, sir. Darian, I looked at how far every one of the long signals historically went when they moved. Tell me if you understand that. That's called an exertion analysis. And so now, Darian, when I get to the next signal, look, I populate the boxes. I pick them like blueberries. How far did the banks go when they went in the past? Where's the bright spot? $192, to 197. It has the capability middle-wise, median, to go to 207, and it had the possibility of going all the way until 215 by the 12th. If I want to see how far it's likely to go down, I can just go back and see how far did it go down at each of the sell signals and do it in reverse. When can we go long in NVIDIA? Back before the split. January 2nd, February 9th, March 5th, March 19th, April 10th, April 24th, and May 22nd were the buy times for NVIDIA. Now, after the split, there's the next date. When did the program warn us? June 11th. Until when? Right here. And so far, NVIDIA went from 121 to 130. Yeah, so when we're looking at this and watching for moves, we can apply it to all sorts of instruments. Now on Bitcoin, I like to use the default template. So if you'll indulge me, I'm just going to change those settings. And so on Bitcoin, we can apply this same technique and watch for the dates where those moves are occurring. Right? We can see when our windows of time are. We can look at it for higher time frame analyses of commodities like oil and see what the heck is going on there. Go from a daily to a 60 to a 15 and see where the reversals were anticipated to occur. Then we can come down to a lower time frame. Now, here's what's bananas about this chart. All of the times on oil on this chart are based on something that we've known about since Tuesday. So when you're looking at 7:36, 8:30, 9:39, 10:18, 3 o'clock, 1:18 Eastern, those are the times on this chart. Those are the times on this chart. Okay. And if we spend just a few minutes, like we did before, saying what percentage of the time did the move we were expecting actually produce what we were expecting, all of a sudden, more than half of the time, we're sort of on the right side of history. The 903 signal right after oil opened today in the direction of the trend went $500 per contract. If you were in England, the sell signal at 451 went $300 per contract. And so now the miracle of what we're doing is really evident, because on the right-hand side of this chart are the times coming in for tomorrow. We have the times for tomorrow right now. They don't change, they don't disappear, they don't reappear. They are what they are, what they are. Okay? So we know these signal times in advance. We can prepare, analyze, and watch for opportunities. Yeah, it works on gold, sure. Anything you have a data feed for, you can do the analysis of. right? Anything you have a data feed for, you can do the analysis of. Yeah, sure, 100%. We can look at the Dow. So a few of you still trade the E-mini Dow, and these are the signals today that we had on the Dow, including the European open here, the Asian session, the European session, the US pre-market, and then the US live market. And I won't insult your intelligence by drawing arrows or triangles all over the place. You can see what happened at the times. 833 was the high of the day. The risk on that trade, if you had shorted it right above the high, was 17 ticks. By the next buy signal, it had gone 97 ticks down. And that's what we're really talking about here. We're talking about a universe where we know the times and expect those times in advance. One of the ways that I really like to drive this home is by reminding people with irrefutable proof that something's going on. And if the government finds you, the people you pay bribes and lobby fees to and all sorts of stuff, if the government finds you, you're egregiously breaking the rules. JP Morgan's former head of global precious metals, two former precious metal traders at JP Morgan were sentenced today for engaging in fraud, price manipulation, and spoofing as part of a market manipulation scheme that spanned over 8 years, tens of thousands of unlawful trading executions, and resulted in over $10 million in losses to market participants. That's you. The defendants used their positions as some of the most powerful traders in the worldwide precious metals futures markets to engage in an egregious effort to manipulate prices for their benefit. Okay, so surely, don't call me Shirley, surely after all of that, there's no way that they're still doing it. Can't be any possible way that these times exist, that we're able to find any of them, let alone more than half of them every day, and that gold can be predicted, its price, in any semblance, shape, or form. That would be ludicrous. But wait, I love this. I love that we can do this. Look at this chart. When was it added? It was added 3 days ago, Michael. And the program warned us. It said, hey, just in case they're still doing it, if you're going to trade gold, watch for sell signals at 5 and 720, 840, 940, 1025, 1150, 105, 155, and 320. Just in case. And if they're still feeling the itch, the urge to push prices higher and spoof and do all of that stuff that they got a whopping 10, I don't know how much money they paid in fines. I was going to say 10 million. I think it's more than that, which is a drop in their profit bucket. Watch for moves up at 1020, 1215, 210, and 350. There's no way, if what I'm telling you is real, and so I've hyped it up enough. You can see for yourself when we look at what happened 3 days after the times were published, what happened in gold. The program warned us, all of you, to look for them to cheat at 320, 215, and 430. They warned you they were going to cheat at 520, 615, and 720. The price of gold, the safe instrument, the hedge. There's no way we can know what that instrument is going to do on this extremely volatile day, right before unemployment, right before inflation. There's no way anyone could know that the price of gold was going to go up. Oh, shoot. We did. Until when? Until 840. You see that big wick there? You know what that wick is. You know who was waiting right here. And they kept manipulating this market at times that thousands of traders had access to for free in advance, all through the US session. And the one that really didn't work was 1120 right there. Who's watching out for you? Because clearly they're still doing it. So the more manipulated the market is, the less effective all of the other indicators are, all of the other gurus are, all of the things you were ever taught are now being leveraged against us to make it appear as though it's a great trade that should work. The reality, and you all know this is true, I don't care what beautiful Instagram influencers you're watching. There's like a 16-year-old girl who has 9 million followers, and I'm very jealous of her followers. But it's garbage. It's what's the stuff they sell at the carnival? They spin it and they put it in a cone. Cotton candy. They say cotton candy BS things. And there's a whole new generation of gurus and garbage. And a whole new generation of traders are buying into it from their parents' basements. The stuff doesn't work. You get in, it goes to your stop, it hits your stop, and goes to your target every single time. This is why. Right here. Explain to me how that worked. 2 days after, 3 days after the program warned us they were going to do it again. It just keeps happening. So the reason I show these signals on the 5-minute and the 3-minute chart, Junior, is because this is what most people are watching. This is what most people are watching. And so it has the biggest impact when I tell them, hey, 3 days from now, the ES is going to go up at 845, down at 940, and push up at 1115. And I write on the Facebook pages, short at the crossover below the moving average, out at 1115. From here to here is a $16 move. At the close of that candle, it goes up $450 per contract. Junior, remember when I said the number 3 is very important? We can split the gaps of time into thirds. 1, 2, 3. And when we split the gap, we see there are time cycles inside of the time cycles that were 3 days old. 1, 2, 3. So the reason I'm showing this to people is because that's what they're trading. That's what they're using to get funded in their Apex accounts. That's what they're using for Top Step Trader. You know what the most popular market is? The one everyone's trying to tame? Who knows what I'm going to say? The one that's impossible to predict, they said. I'll leave you with this. The monster. Behold the monster. There it is. 1051 all the way through 353, 914 all the way through 404. Judge for yourself. What direction will the market go at one of the largest, most important econs in the world? Up from 826 until 831, which is the high of the day. Up from 757 until 819. Up from 841 until 851. Down from 851 until 914. Up from 914 until 928. Down from 928 to 935. Up from 935 until 945. Watch out, Goldman's going to sell it from 945 till 958. Why? Because you had all of the times 3 days ago. You were being warned. Your guru is garbage. Your lagging indicators are nonsense. And don't be mad at me because it fell at 10:51 and 10:30 and 11:10 and 10:10. Don't be mad at me because it went up at 11 o'clock and 11:25 and 10:44. It failed at 10:16. Okay, but it went up at 9:58 and 9:35 and 9:14. Michael, I wished I'd have found you guys. I just don't know. I don't trust anybody anymore. And and then all the excuses come to the surface. And people realize, oh, I bought every single bad indicator before I found you. I fell for every marketing scheme. What part of this did any human being have any ability to interfere with? What part of this did we have any ability to manipulate? What part of this involved any of my discretion or anyone on staff here? 3 days ago, the times and the directions existed based on a belief, a premise. Time is important. Institutions are following time patterns. 3 days later, in the biggest, most traded market by volume in the futures community, on a 3 and 5 minute chart, 60, 70, 80% of the signals are at the places we expect the market to move. The hardest market to trade, the fastest, wildest, most firework-like, cacophonous, climactic, chaotic market, up and down at these times. What did we do? How are we trying to influence or manipulate you? Where you have any grounds, if you don't own this tool, to say, oh, I don't know, I feel like there's got to be some kind of thing I'm not seeing here. The evidence is out there for you to judge. This is real. It's as real as anything we've ever seen. And so when we come to the end of this every week, you really, if you're not a customer, have a choice. Are you going to listen to the knuckleheads on the Facebook groups who say, listen, all you need is price action.
All I use is trend lines and candle patterns and Elliott waves and Fibonacci levels and
It's not real. Companies like Apex and Top Step Trader and Earn to Trade, you know where most of the money comes from? You know why these guys are so big? Right now, there's so many customers, I think it's shutting down the servers. There are problems. There's too many people losing money. There's too many people losing money because they believe the starting gate, the beginning point for their journey is anything can happen in the market at any time. And so I need to be paying attention to everything and everybody and try to grab the tiger by the tail. That's reactive. Our customers are saying, that's not what I believe. Like a religion. I believe markets are rigged and manipulated and populated with thieves and liars and billionaires who use every technique possible, every algorithm, every code, every ounce of every fiber optic line to steal what's mine and put it in their account, all legal like. And I'm going to wait for that tiger at the appropriated time. I'm going to load a 30-30 slug into my rifle, pull the lever back, cock it, settle into a position, and shoot the tiger between the eyes when I arrive at that time in the future. Two different worldviews. I'm going to cheat when they cheat again. Right? The world is not what we thought it was. I think, was raised in one of the most disillusioned generations. After Nixon, things kind of went downhill. I grew up in the Iran-Contra scandal. Greatest president in the world. Well, we kind of sold drugs into impoverished communities to pay for weapons in a middle Latin American civil war. Tell me why? Greatest space program in the world. Hey, my teacher just blew up because you guys ignored warnings about the O-rings in the solid rocket fuel boosters. And the scandals grow and grow. Mr. Zuckerberg, are you aware that every available metric in the universe indicates your algorithm is single-handedly responsible for the degradation of the mental health of our youth today, and that the young girls, especially of this generation, are contemplating suicide, have body image issues, are being bullied online, and harming themselves in unimaginable ways as a direct result of your platform?
Senator, I'll get back to you.
And so I'm very comfortable today telling you that this is what's happening. I'm very comfortable telling you that's what we believe. And most of the customers that come to these webinars, our internal data shows 90% of people who see what I show and watch what I demonstrate leave. They never step across the threshold. They never send an email, make a phone call. I'd like to know more about this. I think it's because they're ashamed. They're ashamed or they're broke. By the time most people figure out what the rules really are, it's too late for them. But about 10% of you make it and you survive and go on to thrive. And so we're all about what we believe. Over the next couple of weeks, I have invited special guests to come talk to you and share what they do and how they use these signals to trade, to advance their own personal Apex accounts, to trade in their own options accounts, to see the tiger coming through the bushes, through the trees, wait for the moment that it's about to strike and kill first. And so I hope you'll come next week and the following week. We've got some special guests coming, and I think you're going to learn a lot from a different perspective aside from mine. In the end, we give, we don't take. There's a transaction in between you and this tool, but we're giving the software. We're not keeping it for ourselves in an exclusive oligarchy of guruship. We're teaching you the setups, how to trade it. I'm telling you what our settings are. You get training when the program is uploaded to your NinjaTrader. There's a discount, there's a promo code available. I'm going to show you all of those things here, but I want you to remember what it's based on. It's based on knowing these times. Here's yesterday, or the pre-market in the European session. There's the FOMC day yesterday. This is after FOMC in the NASDAQ.
NASDAQ's impossible to trade. There's no way to know when the market's going to go up or down. I don't know how people trade that at all.
Customer after customer after customer had the times yesterday. They waited for the FOMC report to come out. They looked at the times that we gave thousands of customers, thousands in the future. Yesterday, right? There they are, 1239, 130, 215, 248, 321, 351, 421. Oh, that's the YM. Forgive me. I want to drive this point home so there's total transparency. These are the times that were available after the FOMC report yesterday. This is what happened at those times after the FOMC report. That's a rigged market, guys. Explain that to me, please. If what I'm telling you isn't true, isn't the truth, capital T, how did we do this? You're one step away. You're going to go to the website. The program that we're talking about is called WARP, W-A-R-P. This is how you have to start. You're going to click on the WARP link. You're going to scroll to the bottom of this fancy page, and you're going to click on the Buy Now button. There is a live room that I teach Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 to 11. $199 a month for 12 classes a month, 2 hours a class. If you want to see me in the market, show these signals and teach the setups that we're using, that's where you're going to go and add that. If you don't want it, don't click it and go to checkout without it. All sales are final. You have to have a decent computer. We promise we're going to take care of the program, make sure it's bug-free. We're going to find out if you're using this commercially because our customers are everywhere. Okay? Also, do not be abusive. Do not write emails in all caps with exclamation points. Do not be racist, sexist. We get to decide who we work with. And if you're kind of a butthole, you're going to get a warning, another warning, and then we're done. We have to learn to get along and live with each other. There's a place for a promo code, WARPOFF. 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 Oscar Frank Frank. When you put that in there, it's going to take $500 off of the price. Lifetime license, 2 computer licenses for NinjaTrader 8. You can plug these times into your Apex rhythmic feed, and off to the races you go. Any questions about what's included? The training videos are on the website. We have mentoring sessions available if you need that, with people who are using the software, everyone from the owners to customers. There's also a live Skype group that is meeting and sharing their experiences with each other. Right now, there's 274 people in the room right now having active conversations and sharing what they know about the program. So we have live community in the Skype group. You also can rely on the opinions of people who have stood where you're standing. We are voraciously following our Trustpilot ratings. Right now we have a 4.8 out of 5. Yeah, Junior, I can give you the Skype group link, no problem. I'll paste it to you right here, brother. So if you want to understand what people's experiences using the software have been before you got there, these are all people who have owned the software. They made the transaction. They are not fake reviewers. They do not, they're not related to me. These are real people with real experiences. And so I would encourage you to take a minute, go through the reviews, and get a sense for whether or not this is actually something you want to follow through and do. Okay? And that's it. Any questions about this before we finish up this week? The volatility is here. These moves are available with a modicum of risk reward management. You can put yourself in positions that move incredible distances in short periods of time, pass your evaluations, get to your payouts, all of the things you have planned for yourself. Look at your options trades in advance, understand the windows that we're waiting for, and get in the money on those options quickly. Load up more on your Bitcoin transactions, understand where to dollar cost average, not just at random places, following the news, which never works out. No, we're all done? Okay. Hey, you don't believe me? I don't care. I am for you. I am on your side. I believe in you. I am proud of you. You are exactly where you're supposed to be right now. I want everything that you want for yourself. I wish you everything you desire. Profitable, comfortable, confident, dialed in, earning to accomplish whatever it is you've set before you. Early retirement, leaving another job, helping a family member, traveling, supporting a cause or a charity that is close to you. I believe in that with you and for you here today. I want it for you. We are committed to helping you get to that point where you're saying, I'm going to write my 4-star review. I'm going to write my 5-star review and help somebody else, right? We've learned in the last several years it takes a community, and we've been working really hard to connect each of you to one another, to help each other. There's power in that, but I also believe there's power in that energy, that belief that we have. And so it's my job to stay positive, to be encouraging, and to remind you, you're doing fine. You're going to be okay. Every minute, every day that you're still alive and looking at this, you're learning something that everyone else who's failed before you isn't. Keep going, push deeper, go farther. You're gonna make it. I believe that 110%. May the wind be at your back. May the sun shine upon your beautiful and handsome, glorious faces, wrinkled or smooth, however, all beautiful and handsome. May the valley rise up to meet you. May the mountains that you're facing today, the adversities in your life, may all those things lay low at your feet as we move forward. In the most tumultuous of times, I wish you peace, I wish you prosperity, fellowship, joy, health, all of those things I believe with you today in their fullness and the reality of those things. And I thank you, those of you that have stood with us, supported us, watched us grow and develop and become something that I think we're all proud of here. Thank you with gratitude, and we'll continue to exceed your expectations. Darian, I'll get with you after the webinar on that, and we'll keep moving forward there. Everyone else, please stay tuned. Next week, you're going to hear from a new face, and then a guy after that, another new face, and we're going to try to get more and more people out in front of you to get different experiences for you to glean insights into. Have a wonderful evening. Take care. I love you all. I'll see you soon. Have a great night. Bye-bye.